At 10:30 a.m. Monday, December 16, 1935, actress Thelma Todd was found dead in her car in the garage of film director Roland West. Her death was initially ruled accidental due to carbon monoxide poisoning. There was also a common speculation that she might have committed suicide. There are several facts in this case that indicate her death was neither an accident nor suicide, primarily the fact that she had 2 broken ribs and a broken nose. Let's go back to the beginning and add up the inconsistencies. Thelma Todd was born in Lawrence, Massachusetts in July of 1906. After graduating high school in 1923, she began studying to become a teacher. She continued a modest modeling career and competed in beauty pageants in which she won the title of Miss Massachusetts in 1925. This pageant won her recognition by talent scouts who offered her the opportunity to go to Hollywood to pursue a career in acting. How could she refuse? After briefly studying at the Paramount School for Junior Stars, where she was praised for her talent, she signed a contract with producer Hal Roach. Hal Roach was the producer behind the Laurel and Hardy enterprise, so Thelma was in good hands when she began her prolific, if short, comedic acting career. She appeared in over 120 movies and shorts, usually playing the cute working girl which audiences could easily identify with. As her career began to explode, she had the opportunity to work with many stars of the time, including the Marx Brothers, Buster Keaton, Laurel and Hardy, and several others. Her success with her audiences earned her the nickname the Ice Cream Blonde and Hot Toddy. Thelma was known as an active socialite, frequently attending parties, events, and having many relationships, both romantic and platonic. She was known to be outspoken and tenacious, not buying into the casting couch style that Hollywood was known for. In 1932, she married Pascal Pat DeSicco. Pat presented himself as an agent, actor, and producer, however, it was fairly well known that he claimed to work for the mob. Pat was an abusive husband, at one point sending Thelma to the hospital for an emergency appendectomy. Thelma wasn't one to put up with the abuse, and during another one of their fights, she sent him to the hospital with a broken nose. Pat and Thelma's short, explosive marriage ended in 1934, only a year before Todd's death. In 1931, she met Roland West and presumably started their on-again, off-again relationship. West was married at the time to actress Jewel Carmen, but legally separated. Carmen was aware of the affair but was apparently not bothered by it. The three of them actually went into business together and opened Thelma Todd's Sidewalk Cafe. Thelma and Roland kept adjoining apartments on the 2nd floor of the restaurant. Roland also had a house with his estranged wife about 500 yards up a steep hill behind the restaurant. Todd and West both kept cars in the garage of the house. 1935 was an interesting and disturbing year for Thelma. As her fame and success began to skyrocket, she started attracting some of the worst of humanity. A stalker named Edward Schiffert was telling stories about how he and Thelma were engaged in a love affair and due to be married. She never recalled meeting this man, and he was ruled insane and committed to an asylum. Thelma also began receiving letters attempting to extort money from her. One such letter threatened, "The San Francisco boys will lay you out," and demanded $10,000 from her. These letters were traced to Harry Szymanski on the East Coast, and he was arrested in August of 1935. Additionally, the success of her Sidewalk Cafe attracted a group of thugs that tried to strong-arm her into turning the 3rd floor of the cafe into a gambling den. She reportedly responded to this attempt by saying, "Over my dead body." Thelma had planned on turning the 3rd floor into an exclusive dining room for fancier clientele and had no interest in running a gambling hall. These men were reportedly working for mobster Lucky Luciano, who was expanding his crime organization on the West Coast at the time. On December 14, 1935, Thelma attended a party thrown in her honor by her friend, English comedian Stanley Lupino. Guests at the party say she was in good spirits and had a lot of fun dancing and drinking. During the party, she invited several VIP guests to her restaurant the next day for a free meal. She was planning on working, as she frequently did, at her restaurant as hostess and waitress. At the party, Thelma's fun was briefly interrupted when she ran into her ex, Pat DeSicco. The two had an altercation, but guests said it was short and ended decidedly. At about 1:45 in the morning, Thelma had a friend call Roland and tell him she would be leaving shortly. Roland had told her to be home by 2 a.m. or he would lock the doors. Thelma didn't leave the party until about 3:30 a.m. Her driver, Ernest Peters, dropped her off at the cafe about 3:45 a.m. This would be the last time she was seen alive. All day on Sunday, December 15th, no one saw Thelma, and several people inquired as to where she was. The several folks from the party the night before that showed at the restaurant to retrieve their free meals were very curious, as they expected Thelma to greet them there. West told everyone he hadn't seen her and he didn't know where she could be. He did nothing, though, nor did anyone else. No police, no missing persons report, nothing. On Monday, December 16th at 10:30 a.m., Thelma's maid, May Whitehead, opened the garage at West's house to take Thelma's car down to the restaurant as she usually did. She found Thelma's body lying in the front seat of her 1932 Lincoln Phaeton. At first she thought Thelma was asleep, but upon closer inspection saw that Thelma had blood on her face and evening gown, and she wasn't breathing. Thelma was still wearing the mauve and silver evening gown, mink coat, fancy high-heeled shoes, and thousands of 1930s dollars worth of jewelry that she'd worn to the party on Saturday night. The ignition switch to the car was on, the gas tank was empty, and the battery was drained. The coroner found that she had a lethal amount of carbon monoxide in her blood, and this is what led authorities to give her official cause of death. They claimed that Thelma drunkenly arrived at the restaurant, found she was locked out, made her way to the house, climbed into the car, started the engine to keep warm, and quickly died of carbon monoxide fumes. The coroner also found that 2 of her ribs were broken, her nose was broken, and her lip was split. These injuries tell a different story from the story the authorities agreed on. During the investigation, a policewoman even climbed the 271 winding stairs from the restaurant to the house in high heels to see if it was possible. While she did make it up the stairs, her shoes were dirty and badly scuffed, and her clothes were dirty from the winding path. None of these signs of wear or soilage were apparent on Thelma's stockings, clothes, or shoes. Additionally, when they checked the contents of Thelma's purse, she had handkerchiefs, a cigarette case, a coin purse, lipstick, and the key to her apartment. So we know that she was not locked out. Another one of the findings the coroner noted found that Thelma had some undigested peas and carrots in her stomach. He claimed that she would have had to have eaten them no more than an hour before her death, which he placed around 5 a.m. on Sunday. Peas and carrots were not served at the party she attended, and she would have had to have eaten them after she was dropped off at the cafe. Did she get them from her restaurant, proving she had access, or did she get them from somewhere else? And if so, where? And who drove her there? On top of all of this, while accidental carbon monoxide poisoning was more prevalent then than it is today, Thelma would have certainly known about it, and known better than to have run the engine in a closed garage. I think with this mountain of evidence we can clearly deduce that her death was not the accident the authorities claimed. Did she commit suicide then? If her injuries aren't enough to rule that out, there are several other factors that make that conclusion very unlikely. She left no suicide note, she had Christmas gifts in the trunk of her car to give to her family and friends, some of which she had been dropping off at various friends' homes over that week. She had several plans to meet folks on Sunday, plans for expanding her restaurant, as well as plans for new movies taking her career in a more serious direction. Additionally, everyone that was interviewed claimed that she very much enjoyed life and loved living it, so it seems most likely that she was murdered. It looks like whomever murdered her beat her unconscious, placed her in the garage, started the car, and locked the garage door. Had Roland West had enough of her disobedience and lose his temper after being awoken in the middle of the night? Or maybe he just wanted her share of the restaurant, possibly even colluding with Jewel Carmen. Did Jewel Carmen decide on her own that she didn't want Thelma around anymore? West did claim in an interview that Carmen had recently been angry with Todd for giving away free meals at the restaurant. Or maybe she just got jealous. Did she have an unidentified stalker who waited for her at the restaurant and killed her as part of some psychotic fantasy? Was she taken out by the mob, Lucky Luciano's men, for not allowing them to put a gambling hall in her restaurant? Luciano did leave the West Coast shortly after Thelma's death, never to return. Did Pat DeSicco wait for her at the restaurant and kill her for revenge, or maybe for her money? He wouldn't get any of her money, though, as Thelma had recently changed her will to leave him only a single dollar. While we will never know if any of those theories are true, we can say that the one the authorities gave us doesn't add up. Thelma Todd left a lasting impact on the film industry in her short time in Hollywood. Her shocking death at only 29 years old was truly tragic, and it is a shame that she was denied the opportunity to leave more of a film legacy behind. If you liked this video, please give us a thumbs up, and be sure to check out this next video. Thank you for watching.